Hello, friends. Nowadays, the GST department issuing notice to the buyer to reverse input tax credit where the seller has not deposited the tax and where the registration of the seller has been cancelled with retrospective effect. Under these circumstances, can the input tax credit in the hands of the buyer can be denied? Answer is no. Because whatever responsibility cost on the buyer under the act he has complied with. He has the tax invoice, he has the EV bill, he has all the other relevant documents in respect of the supply received by him. And further, he has paid the tax to the selling dealer through banking channel. Beyond that, what he can do? Can he compel the selling dealer to deposit the tax? Can he compel the selling dealer to file his returns? Because the activities of the selling dealers are not under the control of the buyer. Whatever responsibility cost legally under the statute, the buyer has complied with. Therefore, if seller does not pay the tax to the government, after collecting from the buyer input tax credit cannot be disallowed because specific provision for disallowing the input tax credit in the hands of the buyer where seller does not deposit. These provisions came into effect with effect from 1st October 2022. Before that, there was no such provision. Section 41(2), Section 41, subclause 2 has been amended by the Finance Act 106, and this was effected with effect from 1st October 2022 via notification number 18/2022 dated 28 September 2022. Therefore, before that transaction of this date of 1st October 2022, where the seller does not deposit the tax even in the hands of the buyer, input tax credit cannot be disallowed. Further, there are many cases nowadays coming up where the input tax credit was disallowed in the hands of the buyer. On account of that, the registration of the selling dealer has been cancelled with retrospective effect. In this case also, it cannot be disallowed in the hand of the buyer. In the case of Solvi Enterprises, Allahabad High Court, and in the case of D.Y. Bethel and Vinayak Agencies, there are many cases in which further case is RT Infotech and Suncrafts Energy Private Limited, and other is Asta Enterprises of the Patna High Court. Many other cases are there which held that if the registration of the selling dealer has been cancelled with retrospective effect, input credit in the hands of the buyer cannot be disallowed. Reason being, when at the time of dealing with the selling dealer, who has valid registration at the time of conducting the transaction of supply of services, when the buyer purchased the goods from the seller, he was registered at that time, and his registration was valid on the portal. What the responsibility of the buyer? He can check maximum that with whom he is dealing, his registration is valid on the portal. He checked up and find that registration of the selling dealer is valid. And selling dealer is also filed his statutory returns and also discharged his tax liability by filing GST 3B. If after subsequently of 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, department visited the premises of the selling dealer and found that it is non-existent, and subsequently he cancelled the registration of the selling dealer with retrospective effect, Whether input tax credit in the hands of the buyer can disallow? Answer is no, not at all. Many courts held that department should take action against the selling dealer because there is no fault on part of the buyer. It was specifically held in DY Bethel Enterprises cases and other cases also. They said department should take action against the selling dealer because selling dealer was authorized agent on behalf of the government to collect the tax from the buyer. If agent commits any mistake, the action should be taken against him. And there is a provision in the GST Act that department can recover the amount from him. But department is going very easy. Disallow the input credit in the hands of the buyer. Reverse the ITC. What is the fault of the buyer? Because input tax credit is regulated under Section 16(2). If the condition of the Section 16 subsection 2 is complied with, then there is no authority to disallow the input tax credit of the buyer. Selling dealer, if collecting the tax from the buyer, it disappears after some time. So what is the fault of the buyer? Buyer input tax credit cannot be disallowed under any circumstances. It is held in many cases. They said, though the registration of the supplier may have been cancelled subsequently, but it is not in dispute that at the relevant point of time, such registration was valid. Therefore, buyer's input tax credit cannot be disallowed. Thank you very much, my friend.